Good evening, Ed, and thanks to you for tuning in. We begin with breaking news tonight. The officers charged in the death of Freddie Gray have filed a motion to dismiss the charges or at least remove State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby from the case. That motion filed just moments ago. It comes after Attorney General Loretta Lynch announced plans to launch a federal investigation into the Baltimore Police Department.
Today, the Department of Justice is opening an investigation into whether the Baltimore Police Department has engaged in a pattern or practice of violations of the Constitution or federal law. This investigation will begin immediately and will focus on allegations that Baltimore Police Department officers use excessive force, including deadly force, conduct unlawful searches, seizures, and arrests, and engage in discriminatory policing.
Baltimore's mayor asked for the investigation, and last night, the police commissioner says he supports it too.
I think it's a good thing. We can use the extra weight. Lawsuits are down, citizen complaints are down, officer-involved shootings are down, but the community doesn't feel it.
If the Justice Department finds Baltimore police have a pattern of violating residents' rights, the city will either have to agree to make changes or go to court. The investigation will likely take months, but Attorney General Lynch says she's hopeful for progress.
The challenges that we face and that Baltimore faces now did not arise in a day, and change will not come overnight. It will take time and sustained effort. But the people that I met in Baltimore, from the protesters to the public officials to the officers, including one who had been injured amidst the violence, all were saying to me ultimately the same thing. I love my city, and I want to make it better.
The people of Baltimore want things to get better, and today's announcement is a good first step. But again, the breaking news tonight: a motion has been filed on behalf of the 6 officers charged in Freddie Gray's death to drop the charges or remove the state's attorney from the case. Joining me now is Baltimore City Councilman Brandon Scott and William Youmans. He's a fellow in law and government at American University and previously served as acting assistant attorney general for civil rights. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
I want to get to the Justice Department investigation in a moment, but Councilman, first, what's your reaction to this new motion to remove the state's attorney from the case?
Well, I'm not surprised by that at all. We know that we have heard rumblings of that throughout the city, and we know that when you take these kind of things to trials, lawyers will be lawyers. They will try to do anything and everything in their power to get the folks that they represent the best justice that they seek for them. So we should expect those kind of things. It's not up for me to make a determination of whether that is valid or not. The courts will determine that out, and the facts will bear that out. I know that the state's attorney is of the utmost character and integrity, but we'll see what the judges and we'll see what the court system says.
Now, Councilman, State's Attorney Mosby was asked about conflict of interest and if a special prosecutor should try this case. Here's what she said.
I can tell you that the people of Baltimore City elected me, and there's no accountability with a special prosecutor. I can tell you that from day one, we independently investigated. We're not just relying solely upon what we were given from the police department.
Is there conflict, Councilman?
Well, I don't see conflict myself, but again, that's not up for me to determine. I'm not a lawyer. I didn't go to law school. The facts will be the facts. I know that the state's attorney is, again, a very, very ethical woman and very has high integrity with herself and carries herself in a very high manner. But the lawyers from the police think a different way, and that's something that they have the right to do. And we'll see the facts bear themselves out in the court system, and we'll have to deal with that accordingly as a city as it is ruled on.
William, there are certainly troubling things we already know about the Baltimore Police Department. Since 2011, the city's paid out $5.7 million to settle 102 civil suits alleging police brutality. Since 2012, 5 people have died in police custody. And in 2012, there were 120,000 police stops in Baltimore compared to a population of about 620,000 people. Will the Justice Department be looking at all of that history?
Yes, the Justice Department will conduct a very broad investigation. As the Attorney General said when she announced the investigation, they will look at the use of force. They'll look at whether or not there have been unconstitutional stops and searches and seizures, and they'll look to see whether there's been discriminatory policing. And in doing that, they will look at all of the history. They will look at the reports of the police department, the data from the police department. They will talk to members of the community. They will talk to people who have been involved in stops and arrests. And they will talk to public defenders. And they will try to get a complete picture of the way the Baltimore Police Department operates. So it will be a very, very thorough and broad-ranging investigation.
Well, what are the challenges that you face in these type of investigations?
Well, one of the challenges is that the police department controls most of the information. So it will be very important to get the cooperation of the Baltimore Police Department. And that will mean allowing the Department of Justice to come in and look at records of arrests so that and stops so that they can reconstruct how the department actually operates to determine whether the department is operating within constitutional bounds.
Councilman, compared to Ferguson, this is a much larger department, and again, 120,000 people stopped by police in Baltimore compared to a population of 620,000 people. That seems to be a lot of people. What do you hear from your constituents about these stops and other things that are alleged as a pattern in Baltimore?
So it depends on where you are in the city. Of course, I, Reverend, know of Baltimore where 120,000 stops are a lot less than what it was back in the day when we had zero tolerance and they were mass arresting black people that led to a lot of the distrust and issues that we have in the city. Some citizens in the city say that, again, you know, depending on who you are and where you are in the city, they say that, look, the police are harassing me. They're being there too much. They're stopping me for any and everything. And then some of my constituents say the opposite. They don't see the police enough. They don't see the police dealing with the people they want them to deal with in their neighborhood. So I think that we have to look at it from both sides of the spectrum and know that, look, Baltimore, yes, we have issues with our police and our community, but we also have to realize the progress that they've made. Even the Attorney General said in her statement that the city has made progress. So we have already started that progress. I welcome the DOJ thing. It's unfortunate for me that we couldn't solve our own problems. It took too long for us to solve our own problems, but having extra eyes in and extra resources can only help us to make Baltimore the best Baltimore it can be.
Now, the councilman is positive about many and most police, William, and there are about 18,000 police departments across the country and about 461,000 officers. Obviously, the vast majority of them don't need to be investigated, but there does need to be a larger shift in culture and training. How can the Attorney General shape that?
Well, this is one of the great challenges for the Department of Justice. I mean, there are these 18,000 law enforcement agencies across the country, so the department is not going to sue everyone that needs to be sued or investigate everyone that warrants an investigation. So what the department needs to do is to be very creative in leveraging its resources. So it does have this stick, the 14141 pattern or practice stick, the threat of a lawsuit. But it also has resources that it gives out through the COPS program, and it deals on a regular basis with law enforcement agencies. So it needs to use the leverage of the resources that it hands out and the relationships that it develops to try to get police departments to voluntarily adopt the kinds of practices that have come out of the 14141 experience. And that's the real challenge now, because as the Attorney General said, we are not going to litigate ourselves out of the situation we're in. It's going to take a much broader and more creative effort. And it's going to take more resources.
Councilman, you talked about those that have distrust for the police. The Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, talked today about the breakdown between some police departments and communities in this country. I want to play that to you.
I think that the issue really goes beyond just the interaction between the police and the community, because we're talking about generations, not only of mistrust, but generations of communities that feel very separated from government overall. And so you're talking about situations where there's a flashpoint occurrence that coalesces years of frustration and anger. And that's what I think you saw in Baltimore when there was that unfortunate night of violence.
You talked about progress since back in the day is the term you use, with zero tolerance. How does Baltimore move forward from now and make progress going forward?
Well, we know that now we cannot go back to being the old Baltimore. I've been saying that for the past week and a half. We can't go back to being the old Baltimore, and everyone's going to have to be uncomfortable moving forward. The police department's going to have to change. We're going to have to make changes to police policy and how police action. Government officials are going to have to change. We're going to have to make policy changes on a local and state level to do that. But citizens are also going to have to change. And what I've been saying, Reverend, is that moving forward, everyone in Baltimore that calls Baltimore home, that loves the city of Baltimore, is going to have to do more in order for Baltimore to truly be more. We have some great things that are going on, but we can expound upon that. There are things that are outside the realm of police that we have to change in our city that is wrong as well. So we have to all get on the same page. There are many lanes for change that are needed in our city, and we all have to gather in the house behind at least one of them. Take this energy, make this a catapult for true change, and make Baltimore the greatest Baltimore it can be.
Councilman Brandon Scott and William Yeomans, thank you both for your time.